Hi guys, my name is Nihal. I'm in 6th grade and I'm in Woodrow Wilson Middle School. So today I'm not standing right next to the board like yesterday. Today I'm standing next to the American map, not this map. Because today's topic is we're going to talk about the 50 states, the tourist attractions, and the capitals. So now I'll tell you only one tourist attraction for each state, the best one. So this may be a good video for you guys, so you guys will know which place you need to go if you are a citizen of the state I talked about. So before I start this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell if you want more videos. So my goal of 2020 is to reach 100 subscribers, so please make my dream true. So let's get started anyways. So we're going to be going from west to east, okay? West is this, east is that. So we're going to be going from Washington. I went from Alaska because Alaska is the far. So let's do Alaska first. So Alaska is at the very top. The only country that borders it is Canada. The Alaska's capital is Juneau, which is located in Southeast Alaska. Yeah, Southeast Alaska, Juneau, and Alaska's best tourist attraction is Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley is the highest mountain in North America, and there's a park, like Mount McKinley National Park. You can go there and look at the mountain from all the way from there. And also, you should go to Anchorage because you can see Mount McKinley from there. So yeah. So now let's move on to Hawaii before moving on to the U.S. states. So Hawaii is the 50th state. No, I mean Hawaii is the 49th state, and its capital is Honolulu. You can see here, its capital is Honolulu, and the popular tourist attraction is Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And also you can also go to Honolulu and see the most fabulous beaches there. So, but mostly people go to Hawaii's volcanoes and Honolulu. So yeah. Now let's move on to Washington. Washington's capital is Olympia. There are two big volcanoes in Washington, but there are more, but these are the famous ones. Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier erupted in 1880 or some 1880 to 1885, and Mount St. Helens erupted in May 18th, 1980, but the last eruption was 2008. But the famous eruption was May 18th, 1980. So the tourist attraction you can go to is Seattle, of course. Seattle, you can see Mount Rainier from there, and also Seattle has the Space Needle Tower. It's one of the most best places. Everybody says Space Needle Tower, but Seattle is the best place to go in Washington because of the Space Needle Tower. Now, let's move on to Oregon. Oregon's capital is Salem, okay? So Salem is the capital of Oregon. The most famous park you can go to, like the tourist attraction, is Crater Lake National Park. Do you know guys Crater Lake? There used to be a volcano called Mount Mazama. Mount Mazama erupted 3,000 years ago, and then the whole volcano blew up to form a crater, which is the Crater Lake. And the Mount Mazama's eruption happened 3,000 years ago. And the eruption led to another volcano formation. In the middle of Crater Lake, there's a volcano called Wizard Island. It erupted after the formation of the Caldera. Now let's move on to California. California's capital is Sacramento. Everybody knows that. The tourist attractions in California is Yosemite National Park, Death Valley, the Mojave Desert, and San Francisco and Los Angeles. So there are more, but like these are the 4 best ones. Like you guys can visit this, and they're so good, guys. You should go there. Now let's move on to Idaho. Idaho's capital is Boise, and the most popular tourist attraction in Idaho is Yellowstone National Park, where there's a big caldera, a super volcano, which we will be talking about in Montana. Now let's move on to Nevada. Nevada's capital is Carson City. The best tourist attractions in Nevada is Las Vegas, of course, which contains a lot of fake structures of the real world, and they also contains a lot of casinos, and they also And the other one is Lake Tahoe, which is in Nevada too. It's on the boundary between Nevada and California. So now let's move on to Arizona. So Arizona's capital is Phoenix. Phoenix like the Phoenix Lander. So Arizona's most populous tourist attraction is the Grand Canyon National Park. Their Grand Canyon National Park is really good. So yeah. Now let's move on to Utah. Utah, I don't know. Salt Lake City is the capital of Utah. The two best tourist attractions is the Great Salt Lake and Salt Lake City, because it's really good there. There's also the deserts of Utah. You can go to the mesas of Utah and see those plateaus. So now let's move on to Montana. Montana's capital is Helena. Okay, it sounds like the capital of Washington, but it's not. Helena. Now, the populous thing, the two populous good things in the tourist attractions in Montana is Glacier National Park, which is in North Montana. It contains the glaciers. You can go see and sled in snow, and the other one is Yellowstone National Park, which is on the boundary between Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. So let's move on to Wyoming. Wyoming's capital is Cheyenne. It may be hard to pronounce, but yeah, Cheyenne. So the best tourist attraction in Wyoming is Yellowstone National Park, of course, because it's on the boundary between Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, right? So the Yellowstone National Park is all those three states. So they all share it. It's theirs. So now let's move on to Colorado. Denver is the capital of Colorado. The best place to go to in Colorado is the Rocky Mountains National Park, and you can also go to Denver, and it is nicknamed the Mile High City, so you can have fun there and do a lot of fun stuff. Now let's move on to New Mexico. Santa Fe is the capital of New Mexico. It's Spanish because the Spanish earlier 300 years the Spanish used to own New Mexico. So, and also the populous tourist attraction in New Mexico is a desert that's with Texas and New Mexico. Now let's go to Texas. Austin is the capital of Texas. Austin. The best tourist attractions to go to in Texas is Houston, San Antonio. Houston and San Antonio. They contain SeaWorld, Galveston has a lot of lakes, a lot of boats, and yeah, it's to rent. Now let's move on to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's capital is Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma does not have that much capital tourist attractions because it's like a place where a lot of tornadoes are. Because it doesn't have a lot of them. Kansas City is the capital of Kansas. Kansas has a lot of hills, so you can go visit. So Topeka is the capital of Kansas. Kansas has a lot of hills and mountains and stuff like that. They allow you to climb them and so there is a lot of parks in Kansas containing mountains. So now let's move on to Nebraska. Nebraska's capital is Lincoln, and Nebraska has the Missouri River. There's a lot of cruises along the Missouri River. You can go on them and go down. Yeah. So now let's move on to South Dakota. South Dakota's capital is Peoria, and everybody knows the top populous tourist attraction there. Drum roll, please. Mount Rushmore. Everybody knows that it contains 4 presidents: George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, such as those. It contains 4 presidents made out of marble. Now let's go. Made of rock, even the mountain. So let's go to North Dakota. North Dakota, Bismarck is the capital of North Dakota. North Dakota has a lot of icy mountains, which is so fun to go and climb them and fall on, sled on them. So yeah, so it's fun. Now let's move on to Minnesota. St. Paul is the capital of Minnesota. Minnesota's tourist attraction is Lake Superior. Of course, Lake Superior is the deepest lake in the United States. The Lake Superior is the second deepest lake in the United States of America. Lake Superior is more than 1,000 feet deep, and you can go boating there. Now let's move on to Iowa. Iowa's capital is Des Moines. Iowa experiences like a lot of tornadoes and yeah. So there is not that much tourist attractions in Iowa, but you can also go to St. Louis City or something like that. So now let's move on to Missouri. Missouri's capital is St. Louis. No. Jefferson City, I meant. Here. It's so hard to see, but it's Jefferson City. But the best tourist attraction in Missouri is St. Louis, of course. The Gateway Arch is there, and it's one of the tallest structures in the United States. The Gateway Arch. It's so cool, right, guys? So now let's go to Arkansas. Little Rock is the capital of Arkansas. And I really want to go to Arkansas. Do you know why? I'll tell you the tourist attraction there. Diamond State National Park. Do you know why? You can go mine for diamonds for only $10. And if you come across diamonds, you get to keep them. You know that? Like, you can dig for diamonds. How many diamonds you find, you can get to keep them. Finders keepers, losers keepers. So now let's move on to Louisiana. Baton Rouge is the capital of Louisiana. The best tourist attraction there is New Orleans. New Orleans has like a lot of jazz players, and used to have a lot of segregation, right, guys? So that's why there's like a lot of Africans there. They play like a lot of jazz for all of you guys to hear. So you better go to New Orleans if you're Louisiana citizen. Now let's move on to Wisconsin. Madison is the capital of Wisconsin. The best tourist attraction there is Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan. You can rent boats there and just go across the Lake Michigan to go to Michigan, which I'm going to be talking about later. It's so cool, right, guys? Now let's move on to Illinois. Springfield is the capital of Illinois. The best places to go in Illinois for tourist attraction is obviously Chicago. Chicago is the best city. It has the Versailles Tower. It has the Shed of Aquarium, which are so cool. Yeah. Now let's move on to Michigan. Michigan's capital is Lansing. The best tourist attraction there is you can rent a boat in Lake Erie and travel to Niagara Falls, which I'll be talking about later. Now let's go to Indiana. Indianapolis is the capital of Indiana, and the best tourist attraction there's this motor speedway there, which you can go and see car races every year. So it's cool. Now let's move on to Kentucky. Frankfort is the capital of Kentucky. Kentucky's best tourist attraction is Mississippi. The Mississippi River. So now let's move on to Tennessee. Nashville is the capital of Tennessee. The best tourist attraction there is the Great Smoky Mountains, which are mountains which are covered in smoke. Now let's move on to Mississippi. Jackson is the capital of Mississippi. The best tourist attraction there is Gulfport. You can go to beaches and in the Gulf of Mexico and have a nice time there. Now let's move on to Alabama. Alabama's capital is Montgomery. The best tourist attraction there is the Space Center in Huntsville. Now let's move on to Georgia. Georgia's capital is Atlanta. The best tourist attractions there is Atlanta because there's the world of Coca-Cola and the CNN headquarters, and yeah, the CNN headquarters contains the biggest stairway, the elevated road. Now let's move on to Florida. Tallahassee is the capital of Florida. The best tourist attraction there is Everglades National Park and Disney World in Orlando. Now let's move on to South Carolina. Columbia is the capital of South Carolina. You can go to a lot of beaches located on the east coast of South Carolina, which are cool. Now let's move on to North Carolina. Raleigh is the capital of North Carolina. The best place to go there is High Point, there's a big point, a mountain. You can go there. Now let's move on to West Virginia. Charleston is the capital of West Virginia. The best place to go there is the Appalachian Mountains. Now let's move on to Virginia. Richmond is the capital of Virginia. The best place to go there is Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the United States of America. Now let's move on to Ohio. Columbus is the capital of Ohio. The best place to go there is the Cincinnati Zoo, and the zoo is where the last male white rhino died. Now let's move on to Pennsylvania. Harrisburg is the capital of Pennsylvania. The best place to visit there is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a really good city in Pennsylvania. Now let's move on to Maryland. But Annapolis is the capital of Maryland. Now the best tourist attraction there is Baltimore. Baltimore is in the middle of New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and yeah. But Baltimore is in the middle of all those states. Now let's move on to Delaware. Dover is the capital of Delaware. The best place to go there is Wilmington and Navarre because they have like a lot of museums for kids and adults. Now let's move on to New Jersey. Trenton is the capital of New Jersey. The best place to visit there is Jersey City, Cape May, and Atlantic City. Those have a lot of beaches. They have a lot of resorts, casinos, airports, and yeah. Now let's move on to New York. Albany is the capital of New York. So the best place to visit in New York is the Finger Lakes, the Lake George, and the Niagara Falls. Now let's move on to Connecticut. Hartford is the capital of Connecticut. So the best place to visit in Connecticut is all of those shorelines. You can go on boats and yeah, sail there. Now let's move on to Rhode Island. Providence is the capital of Rhode Island. It's a small, teeny, tiny state. You can go fishing lobster catching, and you can also go on sail on the open waters. And it's the small state in the United States. Over 400 Rhode Islands can fit inside Alaska. That's so surprising. Now let's move on to Massachusetts. Boston is the capital of Massachusetts. So the best place to go to Massachusetts is Boston. Boston has like a lot of cool stuff you can go and visit. Now let's move on to Vermont. Montpelier is the capital of Vermont. So the best place to go to in Vermont is the mountains, of course. The mountains are so cool. You can take photos and yeah, you can do all of this stuff. Now let's move on to New Hampshire. Concord is the capital of New Hampshire. So the best place to go in New Hampshire is obviously the Appalachian Mountains again because there's like a lot of mountains. Now let's move on to Maine, the last state. The Maine's capital is Augusta. So the best place to visit in Maine are the ocean waters, and you can also go to those maple trees and yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, smash that like button and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.